Committee, the Health Subcommittee, and he's also a member of the Native American Caucus. He's a strong leader in that effort. So I'm going to invite up Joe Garcia, Governor Joe Garcia from the Owinge tribe to introduce Ben.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? It's not close to lunch, so don't get excited and run off on us. What a great honoring we had. Lots of contributions from Indian country, and it's not just those 6 honorees. I think it's happening throughout Indian country. So stay strong and keep working hard. It is an honor to introduce a friend, a little brother that comes from a local area near my home, Owinge. He comes from Nambe Pueblo area, and he's been a strong supporter of Indian sovereignty. He's been a strong supporter of tribal sovereignty. He's been a strong supporter of all the things that we've been working on. And as hard as it is to be in Congress, he's done a very good job, and he remains strong. I'd like you to meet Congressman Ben Ray Lujan. Here in Montreal.
Good morning, everybody. Morning. Such an honor to be with each and every one of you today. It's very special when you have family introduce you. And while Mr. Joe Garcia has many titles, we refer to him as chairman, Mr. President, as governor, but we also refer to him as brother back in New Mexico. Joe has been a dear friend of mine for some time and a friend of the family, and it's always an honor to be with him, but also to share that introduction. So, Mr. Chairman, it's always an honor. Really good to be with you, sir. As I was walking up as well, I saw I was greeted by former Governor of Tesuque Pueblo, Gil Vigil. Gil, it's an honor to see you today, sir, to be with you as well. I see many brothers from New Mexico, so I'm going to get in trouble as I look over to my right here. I also was honored that Regis Pecos, who is here today, and I'll share a little bit about Regis later. But Chairman Allen, for your generous invitation to be with you today. President Jefferson, Gil, it's always an honor to be with you and to see you as well. Our Lieutenant Governor of Chickasaw Nation served our country as well. United States Army. We often remember and reflect on the incredible contributions of our Native brothers and sisters, tribal leaders, Pueblo leaders from across America that have served with distinction, keeping our country safe. And President Jefferson, Gil, you definitely represent the very best of that. Again, to our NCAI board, as well as First President Aaron Payman, Secretary Juana Mahal Dixon, thank you for your legacy of service and for your leadership as well. It's an honor to be with you. So here we are at a turning point in our nation's history with so much work left to be done. But with 12 days to another election day, just 12 days away, less than 2 weeks. And I come with concerns that we all have. I very much appreciate the agenda of the conversations of the leaders that have been identifying solutions to challenges that are facing each and every one of our families. People all across America, the importance of protecting and fighting for sovereignty. But we also have incredible leaders that are running for the U.S. House of Representatives. And so I'm proud to share with you today that I will be this year in the next Congress, that we will have the first 2 Native American women that will be joining us in the U.S. House of Representatives. Sharice Davis, running in Kansas, is currently running ahead. She is an incredible leader, someone that understands the trials and tribulations of families all across our country, a member of the Ho-Chunk tribe, whose mother also was a veteran, served our country with distinguished leadership. Not only is she a law school graduate from Cornell, but you also don't want to get in that octagon with her. Sharice Davids was also a UFC fighter, a cage fighter. So I'll tell you, she knows how to outsmart you when it comes to the academics and the policy, and she'll run circles around you in the ring as well. Sharice Davids will be a formidable force in the U.S. House of Representatives. And then one of my sisters, another incredible leader out of the state of New Mexico, a member of the Pueblo of Laguna, Deb Holland. Deb will also be joining us in the U.S. House of Representatives. She's an organizer, she's an activist, she knows how to roll up her sleeves and get her hands dirty. As she says, there has never been a voice like hers, as she's leading with an agenda, with that fierce voice that we've come to know in the state of New Mexico, and none other than Deb Holland. But with all of this occurring, there still are challenges that are facing us across America. One of those comes at the hands of the Voting Rights Act. A Voting Rights Act that was gutted by the U.S. Supreme Court enforcement actions. So when I went back and I looked at some information that has been captured in this space, I was reminded with this journal that it's often overlooked that self-government in America was practiced by Native Americans long before the formation of the United States government. And yet Native Americans faced centuries of struggles before the recognition of full U.S. citizenship and legal protection of their voting rights. We're now seeing actions in the state of North Dakota through voter suppression tactics, going on and requiring not just voter ID, but voter ID that requires a physical address, when many of the mailing addresses for our tribal elders and members, 5,000 of which in the state of North Dakota, have a post office box. But those election leaders who know that where their physical address is and their mailing address is still not going to allow them to vote. Collectively, we need to make sure we're speaking up with the voice, because if they do it in one place, they'll do it in another. And this is something where collectively we all have a responsibility. This is not about Democrat nor Republican. This is not about red or blue. This is about right and wrong. And I know that we can collectively work together in the space of voting rights, especially as we identify the challenges that our brothers and sisters in North Dakota are facing. I was also reminded that in 2016, in the state of Nevada, the Shoshone tribe, that those members had to travel not 1, but 2, but 4 hours, 270 miles to get to a polling place. It's not right. We need to make sure that we're respecting and working with one another to make it easier to vote, that we respect the distances that have to be traveled, but that we also are able to identify within the gutting of the Voting Rights Act what must be restored. So I want to thank you for your commitment to make sure that we're able to get that work done. Now more than ever, we have to make sure that we're fighting to protect sovereignty as it pertains to language, as it pertains to voting rights, as it pertains to housing, as it pertains to every fabric of the policy that we have a conversation with in the United States House of Representatives. I especially want to commend and recognize NCAI for the conversations that have taken place this week as it deals with addiction in our communities. We need to make sure that we work towards providing more services, wraparound support, and Indian country has been leading the way when it comes to taking care of our brothers and sisters. We recently worked on a bipartisan package that was signed into law by the President of the United States, but it's just the beginning. This is not the answer to addiction in America, and not just to opioids, but to alcohol and every other substance that we have to work together. We also have a responsibility to break the stigma. So that way people that are struggling with addiction, that they come forward so we can work with one another as well to make sure that we're able to find the help that is needed. I'm convinced that we need a model like the Ryan White model to be able to go in and work with our brothers and sisters across this country. This is an epidemic that we must face. It's a health crisis that is facing the country, and I appreciate NCAI support in each and every one of you, your commitment and dedication to making a difference in our communities. We also have work in front of us to make sure we're actually protecting the Indian Child Welfare Act. With these recent decisions coming out of the state of Texas, it's incumbent that we work together in a bipartisan way to be able to address these changes and challenges and do what's right. Pass the Esther Martinez Act when it comes to the importance of language and what that means to sovereignty. Esther Martinez, who I'm honored that I carry the legislation in the U.S. House of Representatives, a distinguished leader from Pueblo that I have the honor of representing, one of 17 of New Mexico's 23 pueblos and tribes that I have the honor of representing in New Mexico. Working with U.S. Senator Heinrich with the STOP Act, to safeguard tribal objects of patrimony. We have immense work to do to continue to help each and every one of you, those investigators, making sure that the Bureau of Indian Affairs is actually filling these positions to work with each and every one of you so that way we're able to identify these sacred objects and loved ones and bring them home. Meaningful consultation is required by this administration. There's a conversation taking place about the restructuring of the Department of Interior. But you and I well know that meaningful consultation is not taking place today. Collectively with your voices, and see how we can work with you and support you to ensure that we have meaningful consultation every step of the way. Not just with the Department of Interior, by the way. As we remind our colleagues in the U.S. House of Representatives, every one of our committees, not just the Natural Resources Committee, has areas of policy that impact Indian country across the United States. And we must make sure that each and every one of those areas has language specifically to make sure that you have access to those programs, but that those programs and that policy is directly taken into the consultation that is so important. Dr. Raul Ruiz, one of our colleagues, a emergency room physician out of the state of California, has been leading the initiatives in this space as well. And for those of you that have gone to know Raul, I want to say thank you for your work as well. We also have not forgotten that the Violence Against Women Act has yet to be reauthorized. I want to especially thank the women in the room today who led with courage, with your voices, to ensure that the protection of Native American women would be fought for and included. One of our sisters out of the state of Minnesota, Gwen Moore, as you know, led that fight, and she is leading this fight. If we can't get it reauthorized under the current leadership of the Congress, once the majority shifts, we know we will get it reauthorized, but we will need your collective voices to get that done. I want to close with a personal story. I shared with you the importance of one of the leaders that was here, and I don't see him in the room now, but Regis Pecos. Regis is a former governor of Cochiti Pueblo in New Mexico, who I have the honor of representing. Was also the chief of staff to my father. My father was the former Speaker of the House in the state of New Mexico in the House of Representatives. Regis was not just a policy advisor and a chief of staff to my father. Regis was also someone my father looked to when it came to faith as a spiritual leader. You see, we lost my father to a bout with stage 4 lung cancer about 5 years ago. And in my father's final words, it was all of his children, his grandchildren, extended family that were around him, related by blood. And there was also Regis Pecos at my father's foot. And my father knew that this cancer who had infected in his entire body, he knew that it was lung cancer, but he knew that if his lungs would just get better, he'd be able to breathe another day. He'd be able to fight for all of those values and principles that we all share. And he looked to Regis and told Regis, "Lend me your breath." that pressure around his lungs, he felt it was caving in. And he looked to Regis to say, lend me your breath. Help me breathe another day. I really think that's where we are across America today. These cancers that are hurting our people, whether economic or from a health perspective. Those that don't respect sovereignty. The American people are looking to each and every one of you, each and every one of us, to lend them our breath. Because collectively, when we breathe in and we breathe out with one another and we're able to spread that inspiration and those aspirations, we're stronger as a community and stronger as a people. And at a time when our nation needs to come together, where we need to bridge those differences as opposed to building walls or dividing us even further, now's the time. I want to thank each and every one of you for your commitment, for your mentorship, for your friendship, and for your prayer. There is so much left to be done as we are 12 days away from an election. But election day does not determine the end of this journey. It only means that we have immense responsibilities going forward. And I am so proud and honored to have a partnership with our brothers and sisters here at NCAI who lead the policy and the country in so many important areas. Your voice matters. We need you at the table. Meaningful consultation. And the other thing I will say, just as Deb Holland and Sharice Davids answered the call, if you're not running for an office, for school board, for state representative, for governor, for U.S. representative, U.S. senator, or president of the United States, what are you waiting for? We need you at the table, getting ready, get it done. Thank you for having me. I look forward to welcoming you next year for your annual conference, the 76th Gathering in Albuquerque, New Mexico, everybody. Thank you for having me.
I think that those remarks kind of let you know that the Pueblo tribes, the Apache tribes of Navajo, are keeping the Congressman Lujan on the right path. So, Congressman, we have a small gift we'd like to present you on behalf of NCAI, our leadership, the Indian community. To say thank you. Thank you for your leadership. We know you work with Congressman Betty McCollum and Tom Cole on the other side of the aisle to help champion the very issues that you're raising. So your voice is strong, it's powerful, and we deeply appreciate your leadership in Congress. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just as our treasurer said, Betty McCollum and Tom Cole are really two examples of how the Congress must come together. Extraordinary leaders, and there's so much that we have learned from both Tom Cole and Betty McCollum. To each and every one of you from Minnesota, from Oklahoma, that works closely with our two leaders, thank you. Continue to pray for them and for all of us to make sure that we do right and that we lead by example. Thank you so much.